Hereditary is a 2018 psychological horror and it's directed by Ari Aster and it stars Toni Collette, Gabriel Byrne and Alex Wolff. So I've finally seen Hereditary and it's thanks to Justin Ritchie who done a Patreon request for me to review and watch Hereditary. I honestly don't know why it's taken me so long to watch this movie. I think that I was a bit scared watching it or going in to watch it because of all the hype that it had surrounding it. Now I seen The Witch a few years ago and it had similar hype and it looked like a similar style movie. Not in terms of storyline but the way it was shot and the way the acting is in it. So when I watched The Witch I was very underwhelmed by that simply because of all the hype that it was getting behind it. It was still a good movie, but it was just really overhyped. So I was scared that Hereditary was going to feel the same for me because I did hear really good things about Hereditary. Now like I said, it is similar to The Witch and it's also similar to movies like The Babadook and It Follows. It's one of those horror movies where most of the time you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it, and I think most of the time that people who love it, they really understand the story because the story has got a lot of depth to it. But the people that hate it really don't really watch it for the storyline. They watch it for the blood, guts and gore, and that's not what Hereditary is about. There is blood in it, there is a bit of gore in it as well, but it's not focused on that like movies like Saw and Halloween. Fans of Halloween and Saw and stuff will tend not to love movies like Hereditary. Not saying that they won't always like it, but they tend not to sway towards movies like Hereditary. It's a thinking man's movie. Now by all means I'm not a thinking man's horror fan. I do love the thinking movies, the artistic movies like Hereditary and Under the Skin. I love the way they're stylistically shot. That's what their movies are all about. But don't get me wrong, I love all the B-horror movies as well. For those of you who know me know that I absolutely love Hellgate from 1989 and that's probably considered one of the worst horror movies ever made. So don't think I'm a snob when it comes to horror movies. I love the bad movies and I love the stylistically shot movies as well. This film felt like it went in a completely different direction by the end and I think that's where a lot of people are confused. Now I felt like I understood the movie as best as I could, but even for those of you who 100% understand it, you still watch it and when it's finished you still ask yourself questions. Am I guessing that right? Am I thinking the way I'm thinking and is that correct? So I think that that is a confusing part, but it's a part that I really liked about it. Now here's my take on the film. Now this is just my opinion, this might not be correct at all, but it might be something that a lot of you are thinking as well. So my take on this film is the grandmother was a demon worshipper. She wanted a demon called Payman to be successful in the world. Now she's worshipping her granddaughter Charlie and we don't really know why. She wants to breastfeed her when she's a baby. We see little signs as to why she is worshipping or favouring the daughter of Annie over the son Peter, and we find out that Charlie is possessed by the demon Payman and she's already been possessed throughout all the whole movie. In fact she's been possessed since she was a baby. So the baby is, Charlie is the demon Payman. Now throughout the film we get little nods to Payman wanting to be male and we hear that Charlie wanted to be a boy, or the grandmother and the mum wanted her to be a boy when she was younger. I think it was the grandmother. So those little signs that we didn't know about throughout the movie, we find out why they wanted that to happen. And obviously near the end of the movie, this is a spoiler by the way, after the grandmother passed away, her cult leaders, one of them is Jeannie, who confronted Annie halfway through the movie. She pretended, or she might have had, but she pretended that she had a grandson and a son who passed away as well to try and get closer to Annie because she wanted Annie's family to take on this Payman demon. So she said to Annie that she's communicated with her son and her grandson and she should maybe try and do the same. So she's sending her little signs and signals to try and do the same. So Annie goes ahead and does this spell that Jeannie tells her to do, thinking that she's going to be talking to Charlie from the other side because Charlie passed away. Unfortunately she didn't speak to Charlie, she spoke to the demon Payman who was inside Charlie, and that went into Annie who wanted it to go into a male in the family, which was Peter. It had to be a blood relative of the grandmother. Obviously it couldn't be Gabriel Byrne's character, so that's the way I seen it. Payman wanted to be a man and by the end of the movie he got his wish. He went into Peter and that was the man. So that's basically the gist of the story that I got. That could be completely different for you guys, the way you saw it. I don't know if there is any wrong answer. The way it was directed by Ari Aster was really well done, because they did leave a lot of space for questions, and even the way I saw it, I still had questions at the end. One part of the story I really found interesting was when, before Peter was born, Annie didn't want a boy, and then, or she didn't want a baby at the time, and when he was born, it's as if Annie already knew that her mother, the grandmother, really wanted to do things with these kids, because the grandmother has always been crazy. And she did mention, Annie did mention, there's a lot of death in the family when she was young as well. It's as if she knew but didn't know. And then the way she knew was when she was sleepwalking, because she always went to Peter's room to kill him in her sleep, and Peter was obviously frightened of that. And it's as if not Annie herself, but something inside Annie just wanted Peter to die so that Payman couldn't go into Peter. It's food for thought, because not a lot of people have mentioned that in their reviews, but it's something I picked up on that not a lot of people have mentioned. So it's as if Annie did know that something bad was going to happen to Peter, and she had to stop it before it happened. Now, a lot of people have compared this movie to The Exorcist in comparison with the scares and how scary the movie is overall. Don't have to get a lot of jump scenes, but how scary the movie is. Unfortunately, I don't think it's anywhere near as scary as The Exorcist, and in fact it's not anywhere near as scary as most horror movies that I've seen that are apparently scary. I just think that the last 20 minutes of this movie was really creepy and really well directed, but apart from that, I don't think it was that scary. There's a few things I absolutely loved about this film, and one of them is the acting in it. Now, Toni Collette, I thought that Emily Blunt was amazing in A Quiet Place, and I thought that she should be up for a good nomination for Best Actress, but seeing Toni Collette's performance in this just outshines Emily Blunt by 100 times. If Toni Collette doesn't win an Oscar, then it's a crime on its own, but if she doesn't get a nomination, then I don't know what they have to do. If she doesn't get a nomination, it's simply because it's a horror movie, but surely she would get a nomination for this movie. Alex Wolff as well. I've not seen Alex Wolff in a lot of things, and I think the last movie that I saw Alex Wolff in was Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and he was completely different in that, a completely different character in that. So going into this film, I knew who he was, but I just didn't know how good an actor he was until this movie. And again, he's another character, or he's another actor that I think that deserves a nomination. I heard that the whole house was built on a soundstage, and this helped with the manoeuvring of the camera and the way that they wanted to use and utilise the space with the cameras. Obviously they had walls were taken away so that the camera can get in and out, and with Annie's job, with what she does with little scale models, it's as if that we're looking at a scale model and it zooms in sometimes to the rooms, and it's the actual room itself. It was really beautifully shot, and I think, like I said, I think that Halloween was beautifully shot for a Halloween movie. But when you look at Hereditary, the way that the camera worked in this one, it's not just the camera movements with Hereditary, it's the way it was filmed in the darkness. Now, there's scenes that they're in bed quite a lot. A couple of scenes in particular that were very creepy, not scary, but just very creepy and very well shot. One of the scenes is Annie going out of one of the rooms, and it's dark, and she looks in the corner and she sees her mum in the corner. And it was quite frightening to see that part. And then she turns the light on and there's nothing there, and that's fine, but the way they used the darkness in that was perfect. One scene they used the darkness even better was a scene when Peter's in his bed, and he looks at the bottom of his bed, and he thought he'd seen the back of his sister Charlie, who died recently in the film. And it wasn't her, obviously, it was just his chair, and I think it's like one of his hoodies or jumpers. And it never once was Charlie in that scene, it just made it look as if it was. And I think that not only did they make him think it was Charlie, they made us as the audience think it was Charlie as well. There was another scene later on where it actually was Charlie, but it turned out it wasn't Charlie. But in this particular scene, it was never Charlie. It's just the way they used the darkness and the shadows. Again, that was perfect. For me, the weakest part of this film was the story. Now, the story was good. I think the story kept you on the edge of your seat for the whole movie, which was great. But we've seen it a lot before. We've seen this kind of story before, and we've seen this kind of twist before. Not necessarily a massive twist, but we've seen this type of twist before. If you've seen Paranormal Activity 3, you know what I'm talking about. It felt to me like a Paranormal Activity 3 without the found footage. Very similar story, very similar family dynamic as well. And I think that Paranormal Activity 3 explored it more because we had 2 previous movies before that. But with Hereditary, it was just done on a bigger and better scale. Overall, it was a great horror movie. I think it was overhyped, unfortunately, but it was still a great horror movie. I don't think it's on the scale of scariness to The Exorcist. I don't think it's scarier than a lot of movies that I've seen before, like I mentioned before, but it was still a very enjoyable horror movie, and it's a movie that had scenes in it that will stick with you for a long time. So what do you guys think of Hereditary? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was okay? Me personally, I didn't absolutely love it, but I think it was a great horror movie. So that's my review of Hereditary, guys. Thanks to Justin Ritchie for pushing me towards finally watching this. Like I said, I don't know why I've taken so long to watch it, but I finally have. It was a really good movie, and that's it. Anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching again. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.